Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. How are you doing? What this video is going to be is basically a summary of my conversation with Mr. Dan Bird. Mr. Dan Bird, if you don't know, lives in sunny Florida, which is currently on path to have a hurricane. So he and his wife have moved. They went to a hotel or a resort. And unfortunately, the Wi-Fi connection was beyond horrific. So we were unable to record our video today. We tried, we moved locations, we did everything we could. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you my notes. We spent about a half hour on the phone. I'm going to give you our thoughts or his thoughts on the market that we just experienced, the market for next week, and we will go from there. So first thing that Mr. Dan Bird wanted to do was apologize. About 900 of you folks inside One Rental at a Time community get his weekly newsletter. As I mentioned, he has moved because of the hurricane. He tried on many occasions to send out the newsletter. He was finally successful in doing so. Unfortunately, the cartoons and images that he puts in did not go through. Apparently, he found success finally at a Panera Bread, but the bandwidth did not allow the images to come through. So on Wednesday, when he is expected to be back home, assuming the internet is working, he will resend the weekly newsletter. So again, he wanted to make sure I apologized for him. He tried. He did everything he could, like we tried to get the video recorded today. So there's a couple of things to talk about. Obviously, last week we talked about the Fed meeting. Dan agreed that basically what the market heard from Wednesday was higher, faster, and longer. It was that, out hawking the hawks, proving the Fed is beyond serious. And now the market got into a repricing mode. So again, the Fed is doing what it wants to do. It is moving the market. Again, remember, folks, Dan Bird is a trader. He looks at charts. One thing that he wanted to highlight is we might be set up for a double bottom. Again, remember, I am parroting Dan's words for you. I'm not a stock trader. I'm certainly not a chartist, but I'm trying to do my best to summarize our conversation. So on Friday, we hit a double bottom, and into the close, there was a bunch of buying. He said that we need confirmation Monday. This could be a short-term relief rally, but it seems to him that the market wants to test this bottom. So Monday is going to be important. Do we get validation, or does it reverse and we just blow through the bottom and go lower? Dan thought that if we broke through the bottom and went lower, that there's nothing stopping it from getting to 3,500 again. These are my best summary of Dan's words. So that's kind of where we ended the week. Will we get validation of the double bottom, or will we just blow through it and go lower? Don't know. No idea. He says that's what he will be watching on Monday. 2, Dan wanted to talk about something he has mentioned on my channel many times, something he calls his bottom finder. His bottom finder is made up of 3 different metrics, and he wanted to make sure I shared them with you because all 3 of them are flashing potential bottom. Not again that a bottom is in, but just 3 things he tracks are saying, hey, we might be close to a bounce. Again, remember, Dan is a trader, not an investor. First, the put-call ratio. The put-call ratio, when it gets above 0.75, is a sign that the market is bearish. Right now, it is at 1. A number of 1 is actually higher than we were during the June bottom. So the first metric of his bottom finder is flashing everyone is negative. Number 2, the VIX. The VIX above 30 is a sign that selling is picking up speed and that capitulation could be in the market. Apparently on Friday, we hit a high of 32, but after buying into the close, it settled at around 30. Again, folks, remember, I am parroting Dan's words. These are not mine. These are his. This will be in his playlist. So again, that is number 2, flashing potential bottom. And then number 3, percent of stocks above their 50-day moving average. Anytime this is below 15%, we are in for a potential bottom or reversal. We closed Friday at 5.2%. So Dan Bird's bottom finder, all 3 put call ratio, VIX, and percent of stocks below their 50-day moving average are flashing. Bottom could be close or at least a short-term bounce. He talked about his different stock analyst reports that he gets, VectorVest being one I remember him mentioning, flashing very oversold, or actually I think he said extremely oversold. Dan then wanted to go and talk about software and semiconductors. Dan is still highlighting that, hey, if we are going to go higher, we need to be led by software and semi. He also highlighted that both software and semi seem to be breaking down. Software and semi are actually below the June lows. So again, he's like, I don't know what's happening. We could certainly go lower. Our required leaders seem to be breaking down. So again, unsure. Monday is an important day. Again, do we validate the bottom, becomes a double bottom, or do we just crash through it with a wave of selling and we go lower potentially to 3,500? Basically, again, this is all the Fed causing the market to reprice. We talked about the stronger dollar hurting global companies. We talked about emerging markets being hurt with dollarized debt. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. And then finally, I asked Dan something I asked all of you, I think yesterday on Saturday, who would pre-announce first, Tesla or Apple? As classic Dan always does, and again, I've known Dan for 20 plus years, he takes that question, twists it into his own thoughts, and actually offers some lessons to be learned, which I just greatly appreciate. First thing he said is, you know what, besides talking Tesla and Apple, let's throw on 2 more, Amazon and Microsoft. So again, if you want to play along, 4 companies, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, Tesla, what might be the first company to pre-announce? I pushed back, as you probably expect me to do, and I said, Dan, answer my question, Apple or Tesla, at which point he said, I don't think either company will pre-announce. I said, okay, great. Let's talk about your 4. The reason these 4 are important is, again, Dan is offering to help educate me and thus you as well. First, I want to make sure I get this right. Tesla and Amazon make up 40% of the consumer discretionary market. So if Amazon or Tesla crash, you will see an outsized impact on those indices. And then Apple and Microsoft make up 40% of the tech industry. So if one of them pre-announce, we will see an outsized return. So back to Dan's twist on my question, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, and Tesla, after many, many minutes of consternation, Dan went back and forth. He actually said, hey, if you had to guess, if he had to guess one, completely guess, just shot in the dark, he said Amazon might be the one that has to pre-announce first. But that's just his opinion. Let me hear from you. Amazon, Microsoft, Tesla, Amazon. Which of these 4 might pre-announce first? And as always, maybe you don't think any of the 4 will. Leave your comments below. Both Dan and I apologize. We really did try to make this work. We tried to slow down our conversation. It just wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to be quality. So Dan, if you watch this, hopefully I got your summary done. Maybe we will talk on Wednesday when you are back home for a quick session. So take care, everyone. Have fun. Bye.